Welcome, everyone, to the January 13th, 2015 meeting, Board of Selectmen. Tonight we have a full agenda, so we'll move right into it. First of all, on the announcements, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Harold Lizick, who passed away this past week. He was a worker at the landfill, and he was on numerous boards in town, and I'd like to just take a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd also like to thank everyone that participated in the Illuminarium this year. It was a very beautiful event, and hopefully we can get a new committee next year, and anyone that's interested, please let us know. Jeff, do you have anything? Brian?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move right into public forum. Fire Chief and Council on Aging Director are on our agenda here, but that's part of community forum, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Jenny Williams is here for which will just take a couple of minutes, so perhaps we can just take care of that first.
Okay.
I just want to give you all a copy of this.
Thank you.
And I just want to say a quick thing for Larry, actually.
So I'm speaking on behalf of her. She's a little uncomfortable speaking. We would like to plan a 10K road race, 2-mile walk. The goal is to raise $25,000 for the cause. A little short story about her diagnosis. Jenny was diagnosed when she was 14 with mesothelioma, and she took chemotherapy and endured multiple surgeries at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. In remission until 2009, her cancer became active again, and she had many surgeries from July to December. She also recently lost her grandmother to lung cancer, and we're quite certain that most of us know someone close to us that has cancer or has lost someone from the awful disease. She's in the beginning stages of planning a race. Already have spoken with the Hatfield Police Department and Fire Department about the race, safety and road closures, which will be staggered and very minimal. She enclosed a copy of the course that's going to be USATF certified. It'll be an amazing community activity for Hatfield, and after the road race, we'll have a lunch, a car show, some fun activities for the kids and the entire family at the pavilion. We're asking for your support and help in making this dream become a reality. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question, Larry. When you said to raise $25,000 for the town.
No, it's $25,000 for the race, for the cause, to go to the cancer research.
And where would that money be donated to? The council, the cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no money going to anything. There's a few expenses to pay out, like the road, the people that do the timer, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the money will go right to the research, every bit of it, 100%.
Okay. Do you have any questions? No?
Move to approve
Right.
the proposed race on 3 October.
Motion
Second.
made, is there a second?
Second,
Any
I
further-
just want to add, I think that's a great endeavor, so thank you.
Thank
And
you.
good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Any further discussion?
None.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much for your
and,
time. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
October 3rd, 2015. Put that on your calendar. Okay, Bill?
And James.
Jane?
So we're here tonight to maybe leave.
Yes.
We're going to say something?
What's that?
We're
The
gonna
the
say
parking situation out back. We've got some concerns. Yes, I'm sorry.
So alarm respond 124 Elm Street for a motor vehicle collision, possible PI. 124.
Oh, will you handle it?
Sorry about that.
Thanks, Bill.
Good luck.
Billy's
They
other
put you up to
job-
that?
Billy's other job.
They
he's
put
been
you up to
doing
that?
this.
No.
Good luck.
Go. Okay. So basically, as Bill had said, this is just an ongoing problem that we've had like for the last 5 years, and it's always the winter time with our parking here, and we're very limited in that. And I know in the past, we've tried different solutions. The problem, and we totally sympathize with the residents over at Capewang, because they're basically the people who are getting bounced around and from their parking lot over to here, and they're doing what they're told to do. Our problem is that when there's going to be a storm, they're told to move their vehicles, which they move them here to our parking lot, and then sometimes when they're cleaned out over there, they put them back. Sometimes they're not, which that starts the problem and generates the problem, because if they get left here, the town crew can't plow. The vehicles are in the way. If they don't clear them out, they can't sand their salt or clean the areas out and that. When we have programs and activities at the Council on Aging now, and sometimes we can have up to 20 people come down here, the cars are parked from across the street here, they have no place to park, so now they're parking along the south side. Well, the south side of the building over there, especially now with the snow, that's when Billy comes to see us and says, you know what, the cars are parked over here, the fire trucks aren't going to get out, we've got a problem, and they can't park there. What happened was when they repaved the driveway in the parking lot, they never put the no parking signs back. So it's not posted along the side. So other than the one that's down that end, which is kind of facing that way, that they can't see it, they don't know that they're not supposed to park there. So we're just looking for, and Billy actually brought this with him. He said they changed the law as far as parking now for, like for the fire department or whatever. He said it's Article 4, Section 4.05G, upon both sides of the access road on the southerly side of the town hall over here, there's not supposed to be any parking. And we do understand that you put the couple of areas there so that a few vehicles could park along here. What we're asking actually is if, and I know this is the wrong time of the year for it, but is to put the no parking signs back along there so people know not to park there. And I know Brian and I had talked about relining, maybe putting fire zone or whatever, so there's no parking, but also making those 2 spaces over there 15-minute parking, so that when people do come to the town hall, whether it be to pick up their mail, highway department or whoever, or someone to pay a bill, put a couple of signs out there, 15-minute parking only, so it's not like, you know, blocking those 2 spaces along the south side, giving people a place to park just for short term. So we're trying to come up with ideas to maybe help the whole situation here. What we're really hoping is to generate some conversation with the housing authority in hopes that they may have some type of a solution for their people over there. I explained to Brian this morning that up to 5 years ago, I never remember a problem here in the parking lot. The person who was plowing used to come, plow, the cars would move over here, which was already cleaned out, and then they would move their vehicles back over there, and there was never a problem. But they changed the plow company, and now there's a big issue. And I know you're all aware of this, but it's a problem that's not going away, and it's getting worse because there's more people coming to the town hall now, and it's becoming a safety issue, especially with the fire department trying to get their vehicles out and that. So I thought, and Billy and I were talking, that the housing authority, whether they had some land or something out there where they were talking about putting in spaces, but I don't know. I also talked to John Wilkes earlier today, and I told him that Billy and I would be coming here because of the parking issue too. So we're just hoping to generate some conversation to try to come up with some type of a solution or something that will help. That's it.
And John is on the Housing Authority,
John is
right?
on the
Okay. So
Housing
did he give any indication, I don't know how far your conversation went?
He did.
That he might be going back to others on the board just to have a conversation?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I mentioned it to him, and
Sure.
he just, kind of shrugged his shoulders, and, but that's what we're just hoping to generate some conversation to see if we can just kind of get some kind of organization for the vehicles and that here, so.
All right, we'll take it under advisement and bring it up at another meeting.
Great.
and
Thank
put it on
you.
our agenda, if you would, Paul, put that on for a future agenda, maybe our next meeting.
Okay.
Oh, the only other thing is, and what we had talked about was the handicap spaces that were down here outside. And I can't remember, I know Phil, they had talked about making handicap spaces. Those are the ones that were put up for the winter time for the Capewalk people. But the problem is there's 7 signs that were put up down this end near the town hall. And what happens is, the 5 spaces down there have no signs, and the spaces over there have no signs. So that the Capewalk people all park there, and then those handicap spaces, when people come to town hall, they think they're handicapped, so no one parks there. So they don't know where to park. So I've told you, I'd like to put a bag over them sometimes. I know, everybody's trying
She
to
didn't
come up
say
with a
that.
solution, but anyway. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Jay, appreciate it.
Anyone else here for community forum? Hold on.
Ellen?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm here to discuss something that was previously brought up at the town meeting, the one before last. And I'm just asking a question so that we have clarification in terms of the town. We've posted several positions in the town for different positions that were available. And in those advertisements were specific criteria that were mentioned as candidates possessing in order to apply for the position, be interviewed, and potentially hired. And what comes to mind is the collector's position. It was advertised as a certified collector. The new position of the Board of Health agent was advertised as a registered sanitarian with certain number of years of experience. And I do know that there was a candidate thrown out based on not having criteria for the assistant building inspector. So what I'm here is to request is some clarification on how the hiring process is being handled within the town. If you are looking for people with specific credentials, specific educational backgrounds, and that's listed specifically in the advertisements, why is that not being adhered to at the time of hiring? I question what type of liability that opens up the town to. Are we settling for something? Is that even allowed? So there have been specific ads that have stated specific things, and it's not being adhered to. And what I would request from the board is that perhaps at the next meeting, something that's televised, if in the event that I can't be here, because I would like an answer to these questions, why that is happening as such, and as we go forward in the town in needing to fulfill other positions, that if we are looking for a certain type of individual with certain credentials to fulfill a role that requires expertise, why isn't that happening? So if that could be something that be addressed perhaps at the next meeting as we go forward.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Community forum, come right forward.
All right, there's 3 of us all together here. So I'm right with Mr. Land Trust, the Open Space Committee.
Yep, Peter Cox, Chair of the Open Space Committee. Mark Gillot, Member of the Open Space Committee.
Got a parcel of land to bring before the board here. There's a family member in the town of Hatfield that owns some land that was previously sort of protected by a Valley Land Fund back in the 90s. And you may be aware that a couple of years ago, 2011, actually, Kester Land Trust merged with Valley Land Fund, and that's what helped helped us do both sides of the river now, both sides of the river. Just this year, the now owner, Martha Dragon, contacted Kestrel to see if they could donate the property and take advantage of the state tax credit program. And there's two good things that would accomplish. One, the first step that was done to try to protect the land before was to write that protection as a restriction in the deed, and it's not actually formally protected in perpetuity as a conservation restriction when it's done in that way, so this protection would run out. And donating it to the town, there'd be an additional parcel included if they went through the state tax credit. And the reason it would have to go to the town rather than Kestrel is just because the way the legislation was written for the state tax credit program, because Kestrel's not incorporated as a corporation, they cannot receive the gift of land. But we'd be happy to facilitate that to the town if you would consider accepting it. Peter and Mark have already been to the Conservation Commission to see if they'd be interested in receiving the gift. And if you wanted to speak to their...
Yeah, we presented the same materials that you have for the 26 acres there, and they said that they looked upon it favorably.
Where exactly on Lindsay Road is this located here? I'm a little confused.
The numbers there are numbers. I'd
Is
have to
this
look at that map again.
above Old Stage Road or below?
Above, north.
It's above,
It's above it, heading towards the reservoir.
Yep, and I'll give you, if you want 2 more maps.
Is that by La Vallee's little pond here? Is that where we're looking at?
This says watershed map.
Okay.
And there's an aerial image.
It's pretty far up close to the reservoir area.
The blue line with the pool, that is the reservoir, what you're
That's what they're talking
designated as?
Yeah.
Okay, the Gore family years ago used to have a big pasture in there. Is that somewhere near that?
It's further up.
No? Okay. I'm just trying to get a good picture of where it's located here. Irregardless, naturally, everybody knows, even on a donation, it has to be accepted by the town, which I don't see why it wouldn't be if there's a need for it, as long as there's no hazardous waste or contaminated waste on the property, and it has merit value to the town, then that would be something would more than likely be interested, especially if it was for recreation or protecting the watershed.
Okay. And we don't need a formal vote to accept it tonight. It was just to see if there's initial interest to proceed with the application.
Sure.
It's a I mean, it wouldn't be a buildable lot. The frontage is only 90 feet or 80 feet on the front of Lindsay's Road there.
And I noticed that you have access going in, which, okay, it'd be one thing if it was landlocked, then it wouldn't be of any value for us at all, because then it'd be a liability instead of, something that we could use.
There is a right-of-way across the land to the landowner behind, so that's written into the deed there, and I kind of highlighted that on the second page of the sheets you have there. It shows the survey in 1977.
So there's a total of, what, 25 acres? 25.6. Jeff, you have any questions?
No.
Brian?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there road signs or something up there that designates where the property is, that we can take a look at it?
There isn't currently, no.
No?
We could try, if you wanted to walk the property, we could try to go out with you with the GPS unit.
It'd be just nice to have some kind of
Visual.
an address or something like that to go by, at least we can see exactly where it's
You can
at.
see the little numbers on there, on each of the plots show the road numbers actually, so.
If you turn the page, it has the property owners that abuts it.
Yeah, the book and page, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go up there sometime, if any of the Board of Selectmen, I'd be happy to, arrange a time and do that.
Okay. I don't have any questions, and I thank you for coming forward and bringing this to our attention, and.
Thank you.
And,
Do you
donate
think that we
Callan?
would, at the next board's meeting, you would take a vote on it? Would that be something you could do?
To move forward in accepting it?
Right, and then we could go back to Concom, I guess, and get an official vote from them, that they would be.
Okay, this would fall underneath the community, the Conservation Commission, or the
What's the Open Space Committee?
Open Space Committee?
Yeah.
Okay,
But you're talking about the Conservation Commission being the owner, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're authorized to receive gifts of land as long as it's been
Right.
approved by the select board.
Right.
You could potentially wait on that vote because the state tax credit program is a first come, first served program. It usually is oversubscribed. And so if we apply now, that may not, the donation might not be processed until 2016. So it could be a year before the deed comes through to be signed.
So there's no rush for us, you mean? Or does it-
Right, all we really needed was an initial sense of whether the town would be receptive to accepting the gift.
And they would apply now.
Correct.
and your Open Space Committee are definitely in,
Supportive.
met with it
Right,
and
yes,
supportive of it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It really continues on with quite a lot of the work that we've done up there before, so.
Right.
Well, the only question that I have is it's below the reservoir, so it doesn't really affect that part of the
It doesn't
reservoir.
affect the watershed, if that's what you mean, yeah. I mean, there's a possibility sometime in the future of making a connection between those pieces of land and some to the north, depending upon, what landowners are receptive,
Okay.
that type of thing.
And the other map you have in front of you there shows the Zone 2 wellhead contribution zone to the south that does cover part of the property.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to move forward with it. And that way we can put it on, or do we need something from the Open Space Committee to, a letter from them stating?
Should they just vote and
And
if they're in favor?
As information. I mean, I have no
They
problem
could, but
voting.
they can't sign yet, so
Yeah.
maybe delay the vote until the deed's ready.
Okay. So if you delay the vote, as long as it's not to when another board comes on board, I mean, that's the, if this board's in favor, then why not take the vote and accept it as now?
You want to be careful because you want to get it in before town meeting is in May. So everything should be in line and everything should be prepared for at least sometime in January, February. So we have this up and running and we have descriptions and everything else to move forward for this so the town can accept it.
Yeah, you won't actually have to, I don't think you have to go to town meeting because it's a gift.
You have to, if it's town-owned,
Gift.
which it will be town-owned,
Yeah.
okay,
What I
the
was
town has
saying-
to accept it.
Okay.
There's no question about that, yeah.
My understanding was that conservation commissions were authorized under, I think it's chapter 40, section 8C, to receive gifts of land subject to select board approval, but
Well, when it comes to land, I think we'll have to check
We'll
with the
verify
attorney.
that. We
We'll
can
verify
verify
it.
that.
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm
we'll
happy to go
verify
to town
that.
meeting if it should.
I know in the past, we've always had a town meeting vote to accept any land, okay? I know that was so in the past, so we'll see what happens from there.
I mean, the answer is we're receptive.
Great.
Yes.
We'll just sort out the
Procedure.
formalities and
Yeah.
procedures and
Okay, very good.
press on.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Do you need these back? These,
No, you can keep that.
the two extra ones here?
You can keep it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else for community forum? Okay. Now, Mr. Corza,
Yes,
how are you?
we're here about the Lions Club Pavilion.
Yes.
A little bit of history of some town
Thank you.
meetings,
Thank you, Bill.
a little bit about the pavilion. And I guess it's still owned by the town. And we're just kind of looking to get it back into the hands of the Lions Club. That's a copy of the plans that that small paper refers to.
I'm a little confused, Bill, on this here, because I know when Ted Cabot was living, okay, he specifically told me that he had the deed to that property, which somebody, George Smart, probably has it now, and that it was supposed to be turned over to the town, but it never was. The paperwork was never done, and it was never turned over. And that was back, I'm not sure how many years ago, and that, before he passed away, that's what he told me, probably a year or so before. So the question that I have is, the deeds itself, what do they read, okay?
Town of Hatfield.
It does say the town of Hatfield.
Yeah, if you look it up in the Hampshire County land records,
Yeah.
it was transferred back to the town, I believe in 78.
There's a Lions deed back to town in 1979.
79.
Okay, I was on the
There was a
Lions Club
sale,
at that
and then
point in
there was a deed
time.
back. I don't know why you would do.
Clear as mud.
Back in 1978, if I recall, it's been a long time ago, the Lions Club sold it back to the town because of the liability on the liquor license, okay? And if the town owned it, it fell underneath the blanket coverage of the town, okay? And that was the reason for getting it out of the Lions, because it was just so expensive, the Lions couldn't afford it at that time. But then afterwards, and I don't see, back in '88, tell me votes to spend $3,000 to survey Lions Club Pavilion. In '87. Okay, so back in '87, town meeting warrant article gives full control of the pavilion to the Hatfield Lions Club. Authorizes selectmen to deed land back to the Hatfield Lions. So that was never completed, is what you're saying?
Right, everything was done up to the survey, but the land has still not been transferred.
Well, it was not transferred because it was illegally or improperly described, according to this. Because it included the elementary school play area, the tennis court, and ball field, which was not the town's intent to convey.
Okay.
And it looks like
So
the
if the
survey was then completed,
So if the survey was
parceling
completed,
off, but then never,
then nothing was followed up with after
no
that?
follow-up after
Right.
that.
And maybe that's what Ted was talking about, that it was never followed through. But he said the Lions own it, but he might have mistakenly meant the town still owns it.
Right, and that's a copy of the survey done in '89 by Harold Eaton. Which, I mean, it was done for the town, there should be something on record.
It's gonna go like this.
So what specifically is the Lions Club asking?
To have that returned as property of the Lions Club, as it initially was. It's like to make improvements on it, if we want to bring that into and upgrade it, we can't pull a permit. We can't do anything there, we don't own it.
It's in pretty
Okay,
bad
so,
shape.
so one, to define the area to be conveyed, to describe that in a deed, to execute that transfer.
The original transfer, when this happened back in the '70s, should have had a plot plan to show the pavilion plus the parking area. That should show, I mean, this surveyed doesn't show any segment of that, unless we're talking about the whole parcel here, remaining land of town of Hatfield. See, there's no, I don't know where the ball field is here.
Well, that's what they're saying was the problem in April of 1987.
I mean, the Mill River is right here, and I know the pavilion is somewhere in this location right here. Okay, so I don't know if this is,
How far down it goes.
goes right to the
Right.
parking lot. It should go to the parking lot and stop at that point in time.
That's the survey that was completed in '89. That's all we have to go on, because
Okay.
that's where everything stopped. And we're just looking to pursue it further. If we have to resurvey, do whatever we have to do.
I'd like to see a clearer, unless this line is the line for the parking area, then there would be no problem, but
What is this, 459 feet? This total?
459 feet from the river, the center of the Mill River.
That sounds about right to the parking lot. Depending on how the survey was done. I mean, the elementary school wasn't there the way it is now, obviously.
Right, but-
So I just,
But
you
the
know, how far
parking,
down does it
yeah,
go?
the-
That's what we want.
The blacktop ends,
Right.
wherever the blacktop ends, that should be where the whole thing ends, right there, because the rest is school
Right.
recreation.
From the
So-
center of the river, you have 389 feet
So I'm
on
just,
the south end.
let's see, this is, river goes like this.
Probably
This is
gonna
the
be
south end
toward
right
the
here.
old,
Yeah, 389.
where the old cable, concrete posts and cables used to be, which is the beginning of the ball field. Without, just off the top of my head.
Is there any pins over there, Bill, by any chance? We don't-
Just what they note here. I mean, we haven't gone out to see if what's left. But they note that there's iron pins to be set, there's iron pins found. Actually, they have a 20-inch hickory down there.
If we could see the two pins, that would solve the problem, then we can move forward on it.
I think we ought to agree on one, what the area is to be conveyed, and develop, this is over 25 years old. This whole arrangement's been kicking around forever, and virtually start this thing fresh.
Well, we're looking to have what was done back in '89, this survey, conveyed back to the Lions Club. So I guess if we start with that, we'll have a starting point. If you want to have someone look at it and
Well, but I'm reading here, where was these, back in '87, the original article conveyed more land that was intended. It conveyed the elementary school play area, tennis court, and ball field, which was never the town's intent. So,
are you talking about
If
the
that's-
old elementary school?
So it sounds like this plan took away from that ball field and stopped it. My guess is it stopped it at but we need to see pins. We need to see the pins there, okay? If the pins are there at the parking area, then this would be the correct plot. That was the intent, okay?
Right.
If the pins are out into the ball field, then that wouldn't be the intent, okay? So I think the key here is to get the pins, get them, and that would have to be done in the spring. Certainly, I mean, you have to go by town meeting. Town meeting set the warrant and set the mode for this whole thing. So it just was never followed through. We certainly can follow through on that, as long as the intent is covered and not the ball field.
And why do we need to wait till spring?
Pardon?
Why do we need to wait till spring?
Unless you can find the pins now, unless,
Can't you just resurvey it or have it checked out?
well, we wouldn't have a reset, you could probably,
We'd have a surveyor go in and check and make sure that that's right.
he could, I think Harold Eaton, did Harold Eaton do this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Randy Iser would be the one we could call and he could,
again, I'm back to 1987, where upon receiving the deed, it was realized the town had deeded all the land back to the Hatfield Lions Club, including the elementary school play area, the tennis court, and the ball field. which was not the town's intent or the Lions Club's desire. So that action was null and void. It was just
Well, the way I interpret
Held
it,
and not recorded.
well, the last sentence of that, though, says the deed will be held and not recorded until a
So the
survey is
survey was
complete.
completed.
And
Right.
the survey is completed.
Right.
And I think what we're probably all saying
Is this the survey?
is that well.
What's the
that-
date of that
hold on.
survey?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think we're all saying the same thing. We just need to verify that this survey, which is the most recent, is fulfilling the intent that was originally, is fulfilling the original intent, which was not to include the ball fields and the tennis courts.
What's the date on that?
That's 89.
It's almost 2 years.
Well, it
old.
sounds like that's the right one, but we just need to verify it before we sign off on it and find
March
out that half
31st,
the elementary
89.
school belongs to the Lions Club.
For the town of Hatfield. It wasn't through the line, the town
Right.
of Hatfield.
Survey
Yeah.
completed, okay.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like
So-
the town approved the money back
I mean,
in.
we could,
Yeah.
we certainly could have Randy Iser come in and just locate these two pins. Okay?
Just
That's right,
confirm.
so we can move forward is what we're kind of looking to do.
Um,
If we have to redo something, rethink something, get it through town meeting, it's just, we'd like to get the ball rolling
Right.
before
Sure.
this next upcoming season.
Phil, could you maybe call Randy Iser tomorrow and see if he can come out? Probably to just locate the pins are gonna be like $150, something like that. Come out of that, the account. to take-
Yeah, as long as we can have a copy of that.
No, that's your.
This is our copy? Okay.
And then we'll reach out to the Lions and let them know what was determined, and then make sure everyone.
These are the two-
that's
The
in
two
agreement.
pins that we're looking at are these two right here. We don't really care about the rest, just those two pins. Okay, thanks. This is for our records, Phil?
I just, I got an original.
Okay.
I mean, there must be something, because it was prepared for the town, so there's gotta be something somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Town clerk should have it.
Okay. Is there any other questions, concerns? We'll bring it up on the agenda again at our next meeting, and then go from there in 2 weeks. So
What's your
hopefully-
plans?
What's our plans?
We'd like to rent it more. When we look
Okay.
around at the Hadley Young Men's Club,
Yeah.
other clubs, Hatfield's pretty unique. You can come to the pavilion and do what you want without a list of, and here are our selected vendors.
Yeah.
And so when you go to do something, graduation or a family reunion, and you're not looking to be at the log cabin, we are a wonderful facility. And we want to make sure that that facility, we're thinking about turning the bathrooms around so you don't have to walk through. It's old, it's outdated, and we would love to be able to rent it. You know, if we could rent it another 10 times between Columbus Day or Memorial Day and Columbus Day to families, we'd be really happy to do that. And everybody we talk to say it's great, we just would like to update the facility so that we can get more people coming. We're cheap, we're effective, and you can do what you want here in a nice setting, which is unique to the area.
Sure.
We're gonna keep people coming to the bonfire.
That too.
Okay.
When was the next meeting, Ed?
Hopefully, we'll have an answer tomorrow. Phil, you get a
I'll
hold of
call him.
Randy and find out if he can locate those
2
pins.
weeks from today?
27th.
Be the third Tuesday of the month. I mean, the fourth Tuesday of the month.
7.
Second-
That's not what I have on my calendar.
Has a little problem with numbers.
Sorry, Brian. No, that's,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
All right, thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Okay, put him on the agenda for next meeting, so we'll have that. All right, Mike, Mike Oles, come on forward here.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, Mike. Excuse me.
Here to give you a quick update on the water transmission main project in two parts. The first part being the Phase 1, which was primarily from the treatment plant down Rocks Road to West Street. And that work, the construction work, is substantially completed. And I do have some paperwork here with me tonight. the second to last payment requisition, I'll call it. The only thing remaining at this point is the retainage. It's 5% retainage, and we feel that that is in line with the value of the cleanup work that they still have left to do. And
How about the straightening out of all the,
water bars on
water
Rocks
bars?
Road, that's in the 67,000,
okay,
which is the retainage.
okay.
And given the time of year, they tried to do some of it in December, and it just got too
anything now.
cold,
Yeah.
and so it's gonna wait till spring, so.
Okay.
That'll sit there. The other thing on that contract is, actually, I got them confused out of order. This is, this is a change order number 1 for that contract. It consists of 5 different items that were informally approved through the DPW, through Tony, as the project went forward. Things that would be improvements long-term, such things as he felt the need, that it would be beneficial to have a couple additional mainline gate valves as you come down Rocks Road, just to facilitate being able to close off the system. Wanted to, when we made the connection at West Street, in order to minimize the number of people that were shut off, have a specialty insertion valve put in, so that it would allow the valve to be shut right there at the work zone and keep water service to everybody. I think in that case it was north of the work area. And the bottom line is that, and a number of other items, that change order value, total value, is just under 40,000. What I do note in the cover letter of that, the contractor has essentially finished putting in or doing the work. So we have a handle on final quantities for that project, and are anticipating that once he does the punch list and finishes, we'll do what's called a final balancing change order, which we have. The contract award is based on estimated quantities. And then based on what he actually does, he only gets paid for the quantities that he puts in. So at the end of the project, you reconcile the contract amount to reflect what he actually put in. We're anticipating that even with change order 1, there will be a net reduction in the contract of 78,000, more or less. And so we'll be back before you at some point with that, sometime in the spring. So,
You said 640,000?
78,000.
78,
No, in the change order.
No, 40,000.
How much?
40,
40,000. Oh,
40.
40.
Give me a heart attack.
Thank
It's
you for
like,
clarifying.
my gosh.
And that shifts into, quickly, one of the things we typically do when we are tracking budgets, prior to bidding a project, we would typically carry a 10% contingency on our estimate. Once you do a bid, we would carry a 5% contingency right through construction. So in addition to the 78,000 in the line items, there was roughly a 60 to 70,000 contingency that we never had to tap into. So overall, for that phase 1, we're anticipating $140,000 of savings at the end of it. So that's the good news. Yes, because you know where I'm headed.
Yes.
Phase 2 of the project was bid, and that work, here's the bids. I don't know who wants them. These are officially the
Put 'em
town's
right there.
records, so
That's
I
me.
need to get them back into your hands. That phase 2 work pretty much starts just west of 91, it's cross-country, so it's just north of Chestnut Street. And what we're trying to do is get the 16-inch transmission main across 91, under the railroad, and then eventually down Chestnut Street, across the Mill River, and down to Plain Road, Gore Avenue area, where that's where the existing mains go cross-country and eventually pop back out into the paved road. The bottom line is the bid results came in significantly higher than I anticipated. I don't know if you've seen the results. I do. Here's another copy. We did get a fair number of bidders, 5
Thank you.
bidders.
I couldn't read this.
We did get 5 bidders, and as I had mentioned earlier, the project was a mix of what would be a traditional open cut excavation, so you're just doing a typical trench work. And then the rest of it was specialty work, the pipe jacking under 91 and the pipe jacking under the railroad. And this particular phase only took us up to the Mill River. And the intent there was, one of the priorities was getting the connection through to a major business right there, Brockway Smith, because they have substantial fire flow needs. So with that said, we got, when you look at the bottom line numbers for the contractors, the 2 lowest bidders were fairly competitive. You know, they were $50,000 apart. So that's the price, is what it's telling me. And after I got over my shock, because our estimate for this project was just under $1 million. And in looking through the detailed numbers, the open cut work was more or less where we were expecting it to be. The pipe jacking numbers, both the crossing of 91 and the crossing of the railroad, were substantially higher. We were estimating roughly $1,000 a foot for the pipe jacking as specialty work, as opposed to $150, $200 a foot for open cut. And then the actual bids came in for I-91 crossing. It was like $2,500 a foot, and for the railroad it was $3,000 a foot. It was alarming, and we chased it a little. We talked to the contractors, a couple of the bidders, to try to figure out why was it so high. And what I was hearing back from them, and I reached out to some of the subcontractors who do the specialty pipe jacking work, and they noted a couple issues. The groundwater table, as we already knew, is high in that area, but because of the nature of pipe jacking, it's a fairly silty sand material, so it might run almost like quicksand. So the pipe jacking works by essentially pushing this 36-inch diameter pipe into the ground about 10 to 15 feet under the paved surface of 91. As they're doing that, Mass DOT would require them to dewater that whole alignment, the full 300 feet across 91. One of the pipe jacking companies said the dewatering costs alone was probably $150,000 to $200,000, and they were anticipating the pipe jacking process to be about a month's worth of effort. So you can just imagine they would be continuously running pumps to keep that alignment, to depress the groundwater table probably by 5 to 10 feet for the duration of a month. So with that in the limited number of companies that actually bid on it in terms of the pipe jacking work, I think that drove the price for that up. We looked into alternatives because it just doesn't make sense to me to pay that kind of money to go 300 feet. So we looked into directional drilling, which is a similar method, but instead of having to physically almost mine through a 36-inch diameter pipe, it's all done from the surface, and it's a quicker process. So we don't have a definitive estimate yet on the directional drilling, but the sense is that it would be less expensive. They were anticipating that it would be a week-long, that piece of it, a week-long process. And they certainly wouldn't need to dewater the full alignment. Essentially, they set a rig up on one side of, on one end of this alignment, and from the surface, directionally drill and, you know, pop up on the other side. The one catch with the 991 crossing is that like a lot of directional drilling, they would use, it's a plastic pipe, high-density polyethylene pipe, and they would just directly pull that through. With Mass DOT, because it's a pressure water main, they want the water main itself to be within another pipe. And the reason for that is if at some point in the future the water main breaks, and it happened further down 91 several years ago, it becomes a catastrophic emergency for Mass DOT when they have a sinkhole on 91. So their philosophy for anything under a utility under pressure is to require you to put that pressure pipe into another sleeve, so to speak. The sleeve extends outside the limits of the highway. If you get a leak, it's just going to blow out outside of the paved alignment. So that by itself, though, adds substantial costs. And there's no way around that. So I guess with that being said, I did do a current update of where we stand with the appropriation and the current funding that the town has for this. And here is, at the very top of the sheet.
Thank you.
Is what the town's appropriated for the project over the years. And recently, the town did receive some additional funding through the state, which was very fortunate. So that brings the total funding to just over $2.9 million. The first phase, including the, these are actual construction costs, were just under 1.4 million. So that leaves, 1.5. There was accounting for engineering and the field services, in which, the majority of the field services were covered by town, local staff, which was a huge savings compared to what it normally would be. But when I factor in phase 2 as bid, and that's just with the base bid, that shows a current deficit or a current shortage of just over $370,000. So, in looking back, that still contains contingencies on the next phase of 5%. My thought would be to rebid phase 2 and with directional drilling as an option. Every time you rebid, it takes some effort to repackage it, but we're probably talking $5,000 to $10,000 to do that. DOT, I already spoke to them just to make sure that they wouldn't put up a roadblock, so to speak, when we try to go to do this or change it. And they said they don't have any outright objections or things that would prevent us from doing the directional drill. We would be able to submit a simple letter with some updated information to them now. They would essentially amend the permit that we have. So it would be a fairly quick turnaround. If we do that, we can probably have a rebid package back out in March, end of February into March, and have pricing received, into April, March into April, and then see what it shows. And at the same time, I'm trying to look at it and see, I think we're paying a premium right now on the pipe jacking stuff, because there isn't a lot of it. So I want to give some thought on maybe we do some additive alternates just to get some more footage, and we can add, depending on where the prices fall. I guess we can also, one of the other thoughts I had is, the original intent was to bring the 16-inch water main all the way down to the town center. But I know as we've been doing the project, one of the priorities has been to get to West Street, because then that gives the ability to service the development north and south of that point. And then also to get to Brockway Smith. Once we cross the Mill River, the types of businesses and water demands change. So we could look at, do you change the pipe size to 12-inch, which might help save some money as we go further. So I guess with that, I'm open to any questions, comments.
You had a question about the sleeve you're talking about that's available?
It is. It gets...
So one, we've confirmed they don't have, DOT doesn't have a problem
Correct.
with this other. And two, there is a sleeve of the size appropriate to
There is.
support this.
There is. And one of the things I'm trying to be sure there's one specialty company that does pipe jacking and the directional drill. They have the equipment or the rig to do, it would essentially be because we're trying to get a 16-inch inside diameter, and because of the plastic, the wall thicknesses get much bigger. The outside pipe that they would pull would be probably like a 30-inch outside diameter. And so it takes a certain type of directional drilling rig that can handle that. They have it.
Okay.
I want to confirm that others have it. And the other thought, if they don't seem to, we may leave it open even further to do one at that size, or maybe do a couple smaller ones that just get manifolded together that still give you the same hydraulic capacity across the highway, but might be more in line with the equipment that others have, just so that we don't box ourselves into kind of sole sourcing it inadvertently.
You mentioned March, April time execution. When's our permit expire with the railroad?
We actually have been in contact with the railroad and Mass DOT on both permits, and both were expiring sometime this year. I don't have the specific dates, but they were both agreeable to just a simple letter request of extending it. So,
Okay. The money that we received from the state, is that included in here somewhere?
it's up in the top. It's in that 2.9.
Well, clearly, the goal has been to go as far as we can with the money we have.
Yep.
And we need to execute soon, because at $400,000, our commitment is we would execute that early this.
Yeah, my understanding is that money has to be spent by the end of this calendar year. So, right, there isn't time to waste.
This is what the state had given us.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And they had given us what was?
400.
400,000.
Well, no, we took 394,000.
398.
398?
It has to be executed by December of 15.
Okay.
I think complete.
Complete.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost, to go underneath the highway, it's going to cost an additional $150,000, is what you're saying, basically.
With the bids that were submitted, yes.
With the bids that were received, in order to complete phase 2, it's going to cost, I would be saying would cost an additional $370,000.
Is that just to get us under 91 or up to where we want to
Get you under
be?
91, get under the railroad, get you up to the Mill River. And you would then be tied back into the existing 14-inch water main and 8-inch water main between Brockway
So this wouldn't
Smith.
even get us out of the water.
No.
No, but I know from talking to
So we're
Tony
back to getting to
Listowski,
Brockway Smith.
Yeah, his biggest concern, and I know from conversations with them, are the fire flows at that facility, and they're pretty substantial.
Well, the question that I have is if we get the water line to Brockway Smith, we still have to get to behind Brockway Smith, where it crosses the river, because how are we gonna feed that section that goes up
To,
to Gore Avenue?
correct, that would still be left undone.
Okay, and that's where the critical part is. The critical part is underneath the river with the pipe exposed, that you're in transite pipe, and that's the part that can break any time.
Yeah, it would still leave that undone. We were figuring the crossing of the Mill River itself, it was going to be kind of a parallel utility bridge to cross the river, that was gonna be roughly 200,000 to 300,000 just by itself. And then the water main work to get from there to Plain Road, Gore Ave, is probably another 200,000 to 300,000, based on the typical unit prices we're seeing. And the other piece that we had in the bid for phase two that I'm just setting aside, there was some work up on Linseed Road in front of the old chlorination system, where right now the piping goes off the paved road, and it's a nest of piping, I guess. And Tony Listowski, the water superintendent, his desire was to straighten that out. You know, especially I understand the road's getting resurfaced. But that by itself, I think, was 150,000, 200,000.
So you're asking us basically to go back to town meeting for an additional $400,000.
Or rescope the project.
Yeah.
Rescope the project, like how?
Well, I think my hope is that rebidding it with directional drilling as an option will save 200,000 plus, right there.
By doing, what was that again?
Using the directional drilling.
Yeah, giving the contractors the option of doing directional drilling
directional
instead
drilling.
of pipe jacking. Just based on the conversations to date, I think that has the potential to save a couple 100,000. So it's worth rebidding at this
The
point.
conversation that we had quite some time ago, we talked about just getting the drilling done, getting it underneath 91, and getting it to Brockway.
Yep.
Okay? And then go as far as we can. That was the original plan. We asked the state for money, they gave us $398,000. The bids came in additional 300,000 over,
Yep.
whatever the case would be. Okay? So, back to square one.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Go ahead.
As far as the two different types of drilling
Yes.
that you've referred to, is there an advantage to one over the other than the costs, long-term, as far as the way the pipe would be laid or put in? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Even though it's more expensive to do it, does that type of engineering and the way the pipe would be laid tend to allow for longer, more longevity, or is that not really a...
I'll tell you what I know.
I mean, you don't need to get down into the...
Nope. But
I'm sure people are just wondering maybe, what's the difference? I mean, it might cost more, but is it worth it in the long run to
Right.
go that route? That's really what my question is.
Sure. The pipe jacking option is the outer sleeve is a steel sleeve. So fairly thin walled, but we're not as concerned about that because it's not being subjected to pressure. The water pipe itself that would be placed in it would be ductile iron, which would be the same exact material that has been used the whole length down phase one. And the town had selected ductile iron pipe because it is very long lasting. It's one of those things you're just gonna put in the ground and you won't have to worry about for 100 years plus, easy. The directional drill option typically would be done with this high-density polyethylene pipe because it's flexible. And so you can, instead of doing it a piece at a time, they're essentially assembling it all above ground, and then they just pull it snake-like into the ground, and it just follows the path that they've kind of mapped out. In terms of longevity, this particular size pipe would have 1.5 to 2 inch thick walls, so it's very substantial. It would probably have a similar life. If you talked to the ductile iron industry, they would say theirs is better. If you talked to the plastic industry, they would say theirs is better.
Okay.
But for this application, I'd consider them both equivalent.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, this is not the best news.
This is not the best. So if you went with two 8-inch or two 10-inch pipes, probably what would equal the, two 10-inch would equal the 16-inch?
Hydraulically, it would be 2 12-inch.
2 12-inch?
Would give you, because it's based on the cross-sectional area of the piping.
And you still have to double wall it?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what they're asking for.
And that's a hard, given why, you can't fight it. And one of the other things I should note, too, we have 2 pipe jackings or 2 crossings. One is the highway and the other is the railroad.
Right.
The
Railroad, you have to.
railroad has been adamant, they will insist on pipe jacking.
Yeah.
So unless somebody has a connection at the railroad, that they're not gonna budge. And that particular price, for 50 feet of pipe, it was $150,000. And I know from talking to one of the contractors, he said they build in a factor because the railroad's difficult to deal with. But it's just the way it is.
So if you were to rebid this, Mike, you would have pipe jacking as the primary method with the directional drilling as an alternate, or if you, or would you just forget about the pipe jacking?
I would
to go
keep
in
both in.
Okay.
And I haven't thought through the details of how I would structure it.
Yeah, okay.
So if we got this, instead of going all the way to beyond Brockway Smith and up to the river, if we just went to the railroad, just past the railroad and stopped it, where would that put us?
I actually thought you might ask. I'm trying to think, the price.
It's important that we get the jacking done as soon as possible. That's the key here.
And you were still assuming we do the pipe jacking?
Whichever way,
Whichever way.
whatever
is
way
less
you need to
expensive.
get it underneath 91, underneath the railroad,
I
to
think
the other side.
when I looked at it, the amount of piping from there, from the east side of the railroad, continuing on to just short of the Mill River Bridge, and then making the connection into Brockway Smith, it's easier work. And based on the actual bid prices, it was like $100,000 to $200,000 additional just for that piece. So in terms of the value, I mean, we could set that piece aside as an additive alternate, just to leave ourselves
Do
some
it as an
options.
alternate. That way, if
Yeah.
you do have the money left over, you can do whatever is left.
Right, do as much as you can.
Do as much as you can, right. You and I had that conversation before.
But we were thinking we were gonna be on the other side of the river.
Yeah, right. So to move forward on it, we really need to move forward on getting it done.
Yep.
Getting it underneath.
Yep.
For what we have, for a price, regardless if it's short. If we have to.
And we're prepared to submit the supplemental information to Mass DOT to allow, to get them on board officially with the directional drill. And then at the same time, restructure the bid package to rebid it with, hopefully get it out to rebid within the month.
Good. We are where we are. And we definitely want to
Yeah,
get under
we
91.
gotta get
and
across 91.
railroad.
Well,
Yeah.
as far as rebidding it, again, this will be what, the third time?
No, well, this will be, We just split it up before into different
Right,
phases.
okay, but it's cost, every time we bid, even on a phase, it costs us a heck of a lot more money. You guys gotta get your piece of the pie every time we do this. So, you know, is there any way that we can cut back on this whole thing and figure out how to save some money here?
I'll give it some further thought. I think the section that we're talking about.
Without cutting quality?
Yeah, exactly, because you know, it would certainly save some money if we could do a smaller pipe across 91. But that doesn't work hydraulically. And given the location of that business there, we have to get across.
Well, the thing is, if you go to 12-inch pipe, you're gonna be drilling 2 holes, not 1.
Right.
Okay, but drilling versus jacking is, like you said, a lot cheaper.
It should be. You know, what they're
Okay.
saying is, you know, because you're not, with the jacking picture, you're actually pushing a 36-inch pipe under the highway. And at least.
Taking out the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them, they essentially are
It's
mining it out.
basically mining it out,
pushing
right.
through.
Whereas the drill auger takes it right out and backs it right.
Right.
Okay.
And there's no individual that's personally down there under the highway.
Okay. So how big of an auger can they get in there? Do they have?
They can do the 30-inch.
12-inch?
They can do the size that we need for this. And my thought with leaving it somewhat open is I want to get as much competition as I can from these directional drillers.
Okay.
So I can put some further thought into the repackaging and get some information back to the board for your consideration before we officially go out to rebid. Just in terms of
And
how it
maybe
would
get
be
us some
structured.
more accurate prices here. This was kind of a shocker with the,
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean more accurate?
more accurate, make sure that there's no other, something lurking in the woods, so to speak, okay?
Well, I'm hoping to get a better price
Confident
on
Mike's
the
done his
directional
homework.
drill.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what you come
Okay.
up with. Okay.
Great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
I'd like to hear from you soon.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on in.
Want to knock any of the other?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to minutes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take up the minutes, Jeff.
Motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 16 December.
Second.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 2 December.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Okay, Phil had to leave?
Had to go to a wake.
Oh, okay. All right, okay, warrant articles. We'll get right into the warrant articles. Combined treasurer collectors.
I just started working on the warrant articles, so I made copies of, you know, what I have so far. Thus far, it looks like a fairly light warrant coming up. I know there's going to be 2 or 3 articles from the planning board. I know there will be an article from the town clerk. And of course, there'll be some money articles coming out of the capital planning. But Selectman Boyle had a couple of ideas that I think he wanted to bring up tonight. A couple of proposed articles for the combined treasurer collector, the combined water sewer service enterprise fund. So I don't know
They're
if you
both
want to
the
get into
treasurer-
those discussions tonight, but, you know, they're.
I thought the state wanted us to separate the water and sewer and have its own enterprise fund.
No, we're authorized to combine the two. We started talking about it last year and then let it go. But as a consequence of having a special town meeting over $35,000, and the fact is, it's all coming out of from the same pockets. Administratively, it makes a great deal of sense and really doesn't have any other effect. The amount of money we have in our retained earnings for both water and sewer is minuscule at best. We said this before, when we formed the enterprise fund, we never brought in all the unsatisfied capital requirements into it. So we've got all those to deal with. They're not going to be dealt with solely by retained earnings. It's going to fall back onto taxes. There's no other way to get them accomplished. So I just think it's administratively a good way ahead, and can avoid such issues as we had having a special town meeting on a very small amount of money.
Like we had.
The other thing was, we have a half-time treasurer and a half-time collector. In many communities, those positions have been combined. That way, they're both in the financial area. You could then have better coverage all day long for a 5-day week with one person covering both of those activities.
Well, when you get into the combined treasurer-collector, well, they're two different jobs.
Oh, that's very common. Very common in the state to have those two combined.
All right, because one is a lot of clerical stuff, bookkeeping and stuff like that. The other one is looking on taking and investing and all that, and making sure that we get the most for our money and so on. So
I think my opinion on this is, Jeff's right, it's very common format. But I think in Hatfield, because of the nature of the treasurer's office here, you could have that as an appointed position, but there would certainly have to be an assistant, because one person's not going to be able to handle all that.
We're not talking about,
the problem that I have is if it goes for a combined treasurer-collector, the collector's job is easy to do, and most people could do it that has bookkeeping experience. When you get into the treasurer, it's a whole different ballgame. It's totally different than the collector's job as far as your investments, on how to invest the money. And if you get somebody that doesn't know what they're doing in that position, it can really screw up the town big time.
Okay, well then that gets back to the second piece.
And we don't have a say about it because it's elected.
Well, a second piece is you could also do the combination as well as make it appointed. But you don't have to make it appointed. You could make it appointed. And you could deal with the issue of qualifications because you hire somebody that has to qualify. It is qualified.
Well, yes, if we're appointing, that's one thing, but if it's elected, you don't have a choice.
No, I
know that.
understand that.
So to combine the two, that's a little scary, okay, on how it would work.
We're not here to decide it anyway. We're just talking about
No, but I mean, we're here to discuss it and
creating a master list of things we're talking about.
so that would be a question that I'd really have on that one there. What else we have? Combining water and sewer enterprise. As long as we don't get into something where they want to convert it back at a future date again for some crazy reason.
No, we're still in the enterprise fund, but you're simply combining the two into one enterprise fund as opposed to a distinct enterprise fund for water and a distinct enterprise fund for sewer.
Well,
It's just one.
It's one fund.
Right.
Is
So the
is
money
the recommendation, but it's still two separate accounts within the
Two
fund,
separate
right?
entities, though.
There are two separate entities, but you can account for them in one fund.
Right. So let's just say that, for the example we had to come back to have that special town
Yeah.
meeting.
I think there were $50-something thousand in water retained earnings.
Right.
We could have simply,
To pay for the
there's
sewer.
about 12,000
To pay for the
in
sewer
sewer. Between the two, you had about $62,000. You could have covered down your $35,000 issue.
Right, but I think there could be a concern as to what the sewer expenses are and the revenues and the water expenses and revenues, and that they should remain separate. Not taking this one to pay for that or that one, because not everybody has sewer that has water.
Well, that's the argument.
Yeah.
The counter argument.
I mean, and we should have, by the way, be trying to expand our sewer services. I mean, that's.
The counter argument is all our capital items for water and sewer are going to be taken care of by taxation because there isn't a sufficient fund retained earnings for either water or sewer.
Okay, so.
So the same people are going to be paying for it, whether it's in one fund
Yeah.
or whether it's in two funds.
So, and I know tonight's not the night we're making a
No.
decision, we're just bringing it up, but I just certainly look into that and personally and make sure we're.
What other stuff do we have for warrant articles?
Well, we talked tonight about the Lions Club Pavilion.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's not much we have to do if
Well,
that's-
but should we revisit that with town meeting?
Why, it was never acted upon. It was acted upon at town meeting.
Yeah, but in
approved.
80?
It doesn't change
80 what?
until you bring it back to town meeting again to change it. It doesn't change. Nothing changes. And once you voted at town meeting, it's there. It's there for a lifetime.
I understand it's there,
Okay,
but
so
is
nobody
that
acted
something
upon-
to refresh, to go back to town meeting
I think it's going to need to be brought back, yeah.
after 20-something years?
Yeah, well.
Some folks may have a different view at this
it
point.
hasn't-
I would like a ruling from town council because I don't believe that's.
The gentleman from Kestrel cited some law about gifts of land not going through town meeting. First I've heard of it, so I would need verification
I've never heard of
for
that, not going through town meeting, but.
I mean, I think.
Yeah, that's another one.
We've had several gifts of land just within the past couple of years that went through town meeting up in the watershed. So anyways.
Well,
I-
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say regarding the pavilion, let's see what they come back with where the pins are.
Yeah.
That could end the entire conversation.
That'll be.
Or start a new
that'll be simple.
conversation.
Yeah,
Right.
because if the pins are at the corners there, I don't have a
At
problem.
the right
just moving
place, then I
forward.
think that the town meeting from 26 years ago, we're just finally enacting it, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. All right.
I think everybody thought it was the Lions Pavilion. I mean, I always did.
Never been clear.
I'm going to ask Jenny tomorrow just to see what the assessor's
Yeah.
records say.
Well, I knew they changed it over back then, but then they voted, I know we voted on it,
Right.
and which we did, okay, but it was never, the selectmen never at the time didn't change it over in '89.
Well, we'll see where the pins are and then check with council if we have to, just to cover ourselves.
But what was
Put that behind
well, I'm saying bring it back because I think it needs to be sorted through again. Why wasn't it acted on?
Because of the reason right there, it gave the reason right
The
on.
ball got dropped 26 years ago, that's why.
Well,
That's why the survey was.
Or was there some issue that came up?
I mean, that's all they had to do was
Well-
pin the property on where it's gotta be, and that's it.
Well, it
Okay.
didn't happen. Something seems to have gone wrong 20-plus years ago. If it was so simple, it was just never done.
I was thinking of giving Bill O'Neill a call on this one, because he may have some recollection.
He's mentioned in the notes.
I'd like to pull up, can you pull up that town meeting, see Lydia tomorrow, and pull up the town meeting warrant article?
Oh, yeah.
Backdated April 28th, 1987, that might give us some,
Well, that was the one that was wrong, where they deeded the wrong amount.
Well, right, well, either that or that's when they discovered that it was wrong, and that's why they held it till the survey was completed. It is a little convoluted as to what took place there, but find out where the pins are.
We're not going to sort it out
No,
tonight.
let's find out where the pins are.
no, find out where the pins are,
Yeah.
and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah.
We'll go on from there.
Okay. Okay, anything else on the town meeting warrant? If not, we're going to move into the next.
So we're going to take a look at the Kestrel, I mean, not the Kestrel, but the acceptance
Yeah,
of that parcel on the
yeah.
on
that looks like
Osmondsey
that's going to be
Road
another one, yeah.
So you're going
as
to
a
put that on your
potential.
list?
We'll sort that out.
Yeah. Property appraisal, number 3, topic number 3.
Yeah, this is regarding the adjacent property next door.
Okay.
So, we have engaged an appraiser. He's been on the property. I talked to him early last week. He said, I may have something for you later on in the week, which is why I put it on here, but I haven't gotten anything from him yet. So I would expect to get a final report for him, probably later on this week.
So that's another potential article?
That's another potential article, yeah. Of course, and that,
Put that on your list?
yeah.
All you could actually create the article, put it in there, create the article, that way we can always eliminate it.
Yeah, we're just
All right.
working,
Put it in there as an article, Paul,
Yeah,
okay? Whatever we're giving you here, put it in as an article.
yeah, okay.
We can always withdraw it.
yeah, we're just,
Okay. Luminarium Committee. We have to establish Luminarium Committee at some point. I know Lydia had some criteria, something like that. She had some concerns over committees appointing, and she should know about it. We're
well, we
creating a new
first need
committee.
to create the committee, and a committee needs to have a charter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Step
I
one
think
is creating one.
Step
yeah.
one is to create a charter, is to say what the committee is, who it's composed of, what its duties and responsibilities are, what its deliverables are, what funding they have, what resources they have available. Just,
Or you could do an ad hoc committee, right? Just get volunteers that are interested in it.
well, you need to define how many members
Yeah.
are they going to represent certain organizations? And one, Elijah, I think, was recommending, well, perhaps just those who participate. But you need a
Yeah, someone needs to
starting
kind
point,
of, right,
something,
run the
Yeah,
pen
show.
to
I think,
paper.
I can have other thing to do here is for me to have a conversation with Peter Rackelbush
Yeah.
and, try and, set some parameters here. So I'll do that.
Okay.
I know in the past, the Boy Scouts used to sell the candles.
Yeah, but well,
maybe those.
who's going to
groups
set
are
the sound
ones that
system?
are-
I
yeah,
mean, there's all kinds of little minutia,
right.
Yeah, there is.
advertising.
All right, so you'll put that together, Paul?
Yep, well, I'll
Okay.
talk to Peter and,
All right.
get the ball rolling.
Jeff, you got your plot plan for the land next to the town hall? Did you have that?
Yes,
Okay, so because you asked for that, I know that.
yeah.
Okay. And, okay, abolish obsolete committees. Okay, Center School Committee, and Energy Committee, and a Rescue Pumper Committee.
Yeah, obviously, the Center School Committee has completed their task, so they won't be meeting anymore. And I did confirm with the fire chief that I think the Rescue Pumper Committee completed their task several years ago, but they're still on the list. So they can definitely be eliminated. I mean, we certainly do have a need for an Energy Committee, but we can't seem to get enough people interested. Unless Mike, got somebody who.
Mike, come on, Paul.
Well, Mike has somebody that he's working on, but we need to, I'm here to advocate that we keep the committee because we have maybe one or two projects coming up with the school department that are very preliminary, but we need to keep the committee. And I know that you all had changed the charter from 5 to 3 members, correct? So we have 2 members now, so we have a quorum.
So you have a quorum.
And David Biddle and myself, so, and we're working on two other people. So I can't even give you names yet because.
All right.
But
Well, that's all right, as long as we
if
have
I
a
can get
quorum.
if I can get the yes from them, then I will submit their names.
Right, the idea of, and you and I talked about this, but
Yes.
the idea originally of going from 5 to 3 was to give the 2 members
Quorum.
still on the committee the ability to have a quorum and to make decisions
Yeah.
and hold meetings, so.
Yeah.
Well, this whole thing surfaces because there is a charter for the Energy Committee,
Yes,
and the Energy Committee's drafting, supposedly drafting reports and a whole bunch of other things, and none of it's been done by the Energy Committee. It's all been done by the town administrator.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
I know
that, a lot of that has to do just with the way, the Energy Committee could do a lot of things outside the green communities, but the way the green communities program is set up, it's the town administrator who's responsible for doing the
Well,
reporting.
yeah.
I have to hit the button and send everything in online, so it's the nature of the program that a lot of the responsibility falls on my shoulders.
So we need to, we probably need to, I know that your time here is short, but somehow we will have to address that at some point of being able to work closer with the town administrator. I think you and I have missed each other a lot as far as communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Because there's timeline, time schedules that have to be adhered to and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
that's why Paul took it over.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have do you and Dave have an idea or plan in mind as far as maybe the next meeting or when the third person or fourth
Well, we
person
just,
might be
we just
brought
had
on board?
we had a meeting scheduled and then it didn't work out, so.
Sure.
I just saw him this morning, actually, and
Okay.
I have to call tomorrow and
Okay.
post a meeting. Because John's waiting for information too,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, thanks for your input, Mike.
So,
Is there a motion to abolish the Center School Committee?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Is there a motion to abolish the Rescue Pumper Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. You'll send Lydia a notice and let her know that we're taking those two out.
Tomorrow.
The Energy Committee will stay.
I know the rescue pump committee's been quite some time. I'm sure they haven't met, but
Yeah.
did we ever,
We bought one.
right, but for the center school committee, did we ever send just a note of thanks for their time and efforts or anything?
We
Or
never
could
did, and I think we should, because actually, one of the committees mentioned to me recently, we never even got a thank you letter, so.
Oh, well,
Oh, we should be doing that.
yeah,
Yep.
let's do that. I
Automatically.
don't know.
To all the committees that we abolish or when they're done with the program.
Absolutely.
I mean, we thank them publicly when they come in, but
Right,
that
no, I
committee,
still
we
think, yeah, at least to the
hasn't
chair,
been in
and then
here.
they can, yeah.
Okay, resignation, topic 7, resignations, retirements, town administrator.
Okay, I've submitted my letter of resignation, as I informed the board previously. So I'm looking to stay through the end of May, get through town meeting. There's a number of projects that I would hope to wrap up, by then. But I have enjoyed my time here in Hatfield, but it's time to move on. So that's about it.
Well, congratulations, I guess.
Thank you.
And good
A
luck.
motion to accept Paul's resignation.
So moved.
Motion been made, is there a second?
Can we not second it?
Yeah, I just want to say too, that that's my target date. I'm flexible, I'm not going anywhere. If things are in flux and you need me longer here, I'm willing to do that, but that's my goal at this point.
Okay, I second.
Thank you.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you. The town accountant, I've had some conversations with him. I've been after him to submit his letter. He hasn't done that yet. But first he was talking about sticking around till the end of April, but I think now he's planning on at least staying through till town meeting. But he's, nothing in writing yet, but I've had enough conversations with him to know that, this is definitely happening.
Okay.
So, yeah, he and I, theoretically will be leaving, just about the same time. But, yeah, I just wanted to, going back to the administrator, you may want to consider, when you start looking for a new administrator, to get some assistance from the MMA, because they have staff that assist towns in their search requests for various positions. It's usually managers and administrators, but you might just want to think about that.
Thank you.
And we're gonna need to, kind of define the role of the town accountant. As you know, it's currently a part-time job. It's not a part-time job, it's a full-time job. So, in my discussions with the auditor last year, his opinion was, yeah, you need somebody in there at least 32 hours a week. I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough. I'm thinking it's more, it's 32 to 40 hours a week, and that's something we'll need to talk about.
It's something we need to resolve in the operating
Yeah.
budget discussions.
Yeah, so we're definitely talking more money to get somebody.
Yeah, but I thought we put
someone-
in, thought we put
did.
in more money for that.
We did.
Okay, we
Yeah.
put in for a part-time,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
pretty much a
The
full-time,
budget for-
three-quarter-time person.
We have to relook at that, but actually the budget that Mike submitted was not the budget that was adopted, because that was the budget that I put together, saying if we're gonna go full-time, this is the amount of money that we need. So, yeah, so we're gonna, we're gonna need to start moving on that soon, real soon. The fire chief, I had a conversation with him, I just, time marches on. I was thinking that he was another year away, but no, it's less than that.
What, on bills?
Yeah, he will be, his game
Bill's got
plan.
2 more years, I think it is.
No,
he's
this
leaving
November,
November.
this coming November.
This coming year.
Yeah.
He will be turning 65.
Based on age, yeah.
Yeah, he will be turning 65 in November. Yeah, so I was thinking last year, oh, well, he's not retiring until next year. Well, it's next year already.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah, so he's turning 65, so he's required to retire unless there was special legislation like we did for the police chief, but he's not interested in
He's
that.
not interested in
Yeah,
that.
so he'll be leaving in November.
All right, that's something we'll have to discuss and figure out what we're gonna do with
Yeah.
that.
And then, as you can see, Paul Dosto submitted his resignation as the Veterans Agent, effective April 1st, I believe. I think he's just, I know there's a lot more training requirements involved now, so it's more time, and I don't think he's just not, he's been doing a great job for a number of years, but he's ready to pass the baton, so.
I know
he's-
Jerry Clark, back when we appointed Paul and Jerry, I think they were neck and neck, and then we appointed Jerry, we
Okay.
appointed Paul. That might be an option out there to get it out there. Let's get it out as quick as
Yeah,
possible.
we need to get.
Well, there needs to be announcements on every one of these
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
quickly,
Need somebody.
because the
follow through.
announcement goes out a few weeks, the interviews,
I know Jerry, he's
April and May, things are coming up very quickly.
I know Jerry's totally involved in state stuff, okay? The state veterans. He does a lot of work for the
Someone like
state.
that would be great, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And that's it.
okay.
That's enough.
We have quite a changeover in staff here.
Yeah.
Treasurer, collector, fire chief, accountant, administrator.
Guess it's time for change.
Yeah.
And so
In
on.
another year, there will be hardly anybody left for when I started.
Okay, fiscal 16 budget.
We need to
Hold
set
the
up a
meeting.
schedule
Hold on a second.
for our
Nine.
joint reviews with the finance committee and the operating budgets.
I think you put this together, Paul?
No,
Or
I
did
put that
Jeff do
together
it?
a long time ago. That's,
I guess my first question on, we need to start, I need to start coordinating with the finance committee in order to get you guys in the same room together to review the budgets. Now, Ed,
so let's start with some dates that were available, we can offer up to them, as
Yeah.
opposed to,
Yeah, I mean, it's still very early. There's a lot of big numbers we don't know about yet. But Ed, are you gonna be gone in February?
I will be gone. in
Okay,
February,
all
yeah.
right, so,
we'll have them all in February.
That's what you guys did last year. And there was a lot of things that
No, that was the year before.
Year before? Yeah, okay.
That was one thing.
But, so there's, you know, there's a lot of issues out there. There's a lot of things happening. So, it doesn't really happen until March, April. March is, I think, it always used to be a March, and then we changed it to January, and then January and February. Now the month of January is gone, so it's the month of February. So, you know, if you reviewed the budgets and stuff like that, and then got into other stuff, February, March, you're right in that ballpark. You have a better idea of where all the financial picture looks like from the state, the cherry sheets and stuff like that. Hopefully that would be all ready, because that doesn't happen until the end of March, the cherry sheet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So-
You know, the first thing that we have to hang our hat on, as far as the state budget is concerned, is the governor's budget. And yeah, that doesn't come out, that comes out the end of January.
Did you see where the,
Yeah.
not to change subject, but did you see where the governor put another $1 million into, $100 million into the road?
Yes,
He
Chapter 90.
reapproved that?
Funded the full 300 million.
Yeah. That was nice.
But even though you're gone, there's no reason we can't press on with a first cut just to see how things are.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
we drill out what the issues are, and
Yep.
that's what you care about. The routine stuff is.
I know on the Keys side, we're talking about secretary for the Board of Health. I mean, she's, like from what Paul was saying also, and she's overloaded with Board of Health stuff
Yeah.
to do, work to do. So, as far as calls and stuff like that, so I'm not sure where we're going with that. I know back when I asked for more money on the Board of Health a number of years ago, we asked for, I think it was 20,000, they gave us 10,000 or something like that, for increase in secretaries. When we had the documentation and everything, if you recall, I brought that forward. And the Finance Committee wouldn't go any further than that, so it's, you know, Wilma said it was too much time, it was taken of hers, and now Key's saying the same thing.
Saying the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, so two people can't be wrong on this whole thing.
No.
So,
So, thoughts on when we want to have a first meeting of the Finance Committee? End of February?
Well, gonna have to find out what their schedule is.
Yeah,
Well, we need to offer rolling up, don't just
yeah.
throw in the dark. We'll be going back forever and ever here.
Yeah. So as long as, you know, you go through the department's budgets and see where they stand, because this year was done a little different. We didn't tell them to level fund. We told them to come in with what their, a justified budget. Curious to see how they came in and what they put in. Okay, so this year will be a little different.
Yeah.
Not sure how much money is gonna be available, but certainly we can look at all that, the items. There are items that need to be addressed as far as people, key for one is to be brought up
Absolutely.
in her situation.
Yeah.
Okay, I know her category was changed to a higher level, but she's never compensated for that.
Yeah, that needs to be addressed.
So those are.
Her pay was within the band. Nothing, I don't think we ought to be talking about individual pay here, but the particular individual you're talking about was within band.
Yeah.
So, well, let me reach out to the Finance Committee, and I'll have something for you for the next meeting.
Okay, good.
Yeah, let's just do
I'm
it,
wide
you know,
open, by
like
the way.
1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4,
Well,
5,
yeah,
do,
that's-
I'm wide open, whatever.
bank them, you know, one
Yep.
after another, and
Yep.
get through a first cut
We had a
and see
couple
where
of
we are.
weeks in January, and then it goes right into February. We've got MMA conference next week, too.
Yeah, that's right.
So more than likely, the Finance Committee isn't going to be meeting until sometime in February anyway, just to get organized. Okay. Appointments.
Yeah, I've got a Besides what's in your packet, I've got another
Housing
one
Plan
here.
Advisory Committee, did we establish that already?
Yes,
With-
yes, you
with,
did.
Properly?
Lydia?
Yes.
Okay.
Did we what? I'm sorry.
We established that with Lydia because she's a little upset that we didn't let her
The
know
process.
people were coming in to get appointed and she didn't know anything about it.
Yeah. There was supposed to be a whole, well, there is a number of appointment forms, which I gave to Key for the Hatfield Housing Plan Advisory Committee. But she's not here, and I don't know where it is. But Ed,
Sean was-
you're the one, the chair needs to sign, so we'll just deal with this
What is
later
that
on
on?
this
I'm
week.
sorry. On what was it?
Every committee has appointed their representative to the Housing Committee, except for the Housing Authority. And I've got all the forms filled out for everybody, but I gave them to Key to put in the signature packet, and they're in her office somewhere, but we'll deal with that later. This,
Oh, well, I can sign them
Yeah.
during the week.
yeah.
Just give me a call when she's back.
Yeah,
and-
so there's I don't think you ever voted on Sean Robinson.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, so you guys need to vote on him.
Move the appointment, I move that Ms. Sean Robinson be the Council on Aging representative to the Hatfield Housing Plan Advisory Committee.
Motion is made, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you.
Okay, I don't think you haven't voted on this yet either. This is the Community Preservation Committee, the Agriculture Advisory Committee representative to the Community Preservation Committee. They are nominating Russell Powell.
So moved.
So you need to vote on that.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. We need a
Okay.
signature on here.
Yeah. Okay, the last thing on that topic isn't exactly an appointment, but Lydia has two people who are interested in, James and Betsy Tarr, who are interested in signing on to the senior citizen property tax work-off application. She's looking to have them, come in and work on census returns and whatever else. I guess a lot of her regular helpers are not available these days. So what needs to happen here is, as you look at the program policies, any position in that program needs to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. So in this instance, you're just approving the positions, not necessarily the individuals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. For any further discussion? Question that I have is how much work has she got for them?
Oh, you'd have.
I know,
Yeah.
Well, the
You
total
know-
number of hours cannot exceed $1,000 for a
Right.
year.
I know, but I want to make sure that there's, how much, I'd like to know how much work that she has for them.
Yeah,
Okay, I mean, is there $100 or $1,000 or $500 or whatever?
Yeah,
how much
I can't
time is
answer that.
involved
You'd have to talk to Lydia about that.
No, I mean, we can approve it up to
It's already established what it is.
$1,000 that we established, right?
Right.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, does she need all that all that time for,
No, I mean, the way this
For that
works,
project.
the way this works is, they will be paid hourly at minimum wage, so, they may never chew all the way through the $1,000. So it's not automatic.
well, I know that,
Yeah.
it comes off of their taxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but what I'm
So
saying.
Lydia will be responsible for keeping track of their time and submitting that.
Probably not an exact science, it's
No,
kind of
no,
a as
no.
needed,
No,
so.
and then Lydia will need to submit it to the assessor's office.
Okay, so Lydia has control of this and
Yes.
we're just
Yes.
operating, okay. Motion made and seconded, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Okay, any other appointments?
No, that's it.
Okay, Town Administrator's Report, Human Resource Policy.
Okay. There's just a couple of suggestions I have in this section, if I can find it, yeah. So we're getting near the end here, guys. There's gonna be probably one more section we'll need to plow through, and then it's gonna be a lot of additional boilerplate after that, just to bring us up to snuff with laws that have been passed since this was last amended. So we're coming down the home stretch on this. On sick leave, it says employees retiring after 15 or more years of service with the town are entitled to be paid an amount equivalent to 10% of the value of their unused sick leave, et cetera, et cetera. There's very little incentive for employees who have not been here 15 years not to use up all their sick time. I don't know if there's anybody in this building now who's been here 15 years.
Oh, sure it has.
Who?
Jane, she's been here for 20.
Oh, well, Jane, okay, yeah.
Bill Belden, you've got Tom Olsley, you've got,
Well, I was talking about just the town hall, but yeah.
I mean, they're all,
But there's not that many.
they're all part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, then you got the highway guys, there's quite a few guys in the highway department.
yeah. Well, they wouldn't be covered by this anyway.
Oh, sure they would be.
Whatever's in their contract.
Well, the contract is silent, this covers.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that, and everybody on the school department.
Yeah. So I'm just saying 15 years is a long time.
So,
Did you have a recommendation? I mean,
Well, I would go with something like 5 years.
Well, the common
You're not gonna
person
retire
only
in 5
stays for
years.
5 years, okay? You know, I mean, most younger people only stay in a position for 5, 6 years, and
Yeah.
then they move on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't help the town any, you know, when they move on. I mean, we spend all our money training them,
Yeah.
you know, working with them and stuff like that. There's a lot that we put into each employee also.
Yeah, what I'm saying, I'll use myself as an example. I mean, I've been here for 3 years. When I signed on, I didn't know how long I was gonna be here. But I certainly wasn't gonna be here for another 15 years, because I was 58 at the time. There is no incentive for me not to burn up my sick time, if I was that kind of a guy.
yeah, integrity, I would
That's
hope.
what I'm saying.
Well, you also, if you burn up your sick time, then, you know, you have to
Justify it.
justify
yeah,
it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just can't call in sick and not justify it, especially if it's over 1 or 2 days. I mean, one
Yeah,
day or
yeah,
2
you
days,
do
I
what-
guess
you
the
know,
third
you
day is.
burn up a day here, burn up a day there, burn up a day. I'm just saying for people who don't have the 15 years and don't plan on being here 15 years, there's no incentive for them to, oh, I don't feel like going into work today. I think I'll call in sick. That's my comment.
Okay, and so bereavement leave, what do you,
On the bereavement leave.
you're proposing to
Every
add?
full-time employee, it should be all eligible
I'm
employees.
proposing to add this. This is pretty common in a lot of PR policies. Once again, I will give myself as an example. Yeah, it was last January, actually, it was a year ago. My brother-in-law's mother died. I absolutely had to go to the funeral. It was in Pittsfield. That's not covered here. So,
But there's
since
nothing-
I had already burned up all my personal time on doctor's appointments, I had to use vacation time in order to go to the funeral.
Yes? Yes, so you're not prohibited from using vacation time. You know, an alternative to all this is just give X number of days, personal days, how they use them, go to a funeral, take a vacation.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, I think you and I have talked about it, Jeff, you know, the whole thing about breaking up, the trend is to just, you got sick time, vacation time, all this other time. The trend is to just go with leave time. Okay, you get so many days off per year.
For whatever.
For whatever. And
That's
I
right.
really like that idea. Administratively, it's a lot easier to track.
I will say that, at least the companies I've been involved with as an employee, is the bereavement has been separate. But other than bereavement for immediate family members, it has been just, here's your personal time, and whether you're going to a doctor or you're just want the day off or whatever, it's yeah, here's how many days you get per year. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Well,
were.
we get what, 3 days? 3 days?
3 days bereavement, yeah. Or
For an immediate family
for
member.
immediate family members, yeah,
Yeah, but
But he also gets personal days.
yeah.
Right.
But, you know, right, but like, I mean. that
That's
might
3
be
there.
unusual, just because I live so far away and all my doctors are in Pittsfield. I use up all my personal time up on doctor's appointments.
Mhm.
That may not be true for my replacement, but.
No, I mean, personally, if we're going to discuss this, I would just say I think the bereavement should stay as it is. And and then as far as that one paid funeral day, to be honest, I think that could be somebody's personal day if it's a non-immediate family member. That's how I
leave shall
would.
not be charged against sick leave or vacation leave.
Correct.
So, to me, why, sick leave I can see, but vacation, that's not, I don't, if somebody want to take a vacation day to go to a funeral,
Yeah, they can do
what
that.
is that? But that's what it's saying.
I think what they're
Well, I
saying,
mean, that's what I had to do.
right.
Yeah, but it says it shall not be charged against sick leave or vacation leave. That's what it says right here.
Well, that's
Yeah,
referring
that's
to
for
the
the-
immediate family
yeah,
member though, right?
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's-
Yeah, if you get rid of the
He's proposing
blue.
to
yes.
add this. Brian and I are not proposing it be adopted. And it's saying under bereavement leave, this 3 days
Okay,
are
what-
not charged to these other accounts. So you still get your personal leave,
Okay,
you
but
still get your sick
I would
leave.
be in favor of one paid funeral day for any other deceased not mentioned above.
But you already
should
have
be-
3 personal days.
Should say relative.
But you are, in addition to your sick leave and vacation time,
Right, you got 3
you
personal.
got 3
Right,
three other days.
Right, so you could use a personal day for that.
Sure. So you got a total
But
of
I'm
6
saying,
days.
if you guys did want to change it, I would only change it to add that it had to be a relative. Because then you're going to funerals to anybody, I mean, that would be disastrous for us.
Yeah, I think the policy as it currently exists, without any of these changes, other than that first line changing it to all eligible
Right.
employees, you did that, right? Instead
Yeah.
of every full-time?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
part
leave.
just,
Well, where is eligible employees defined then?
Earlier on, 20 hours or more. That's defined in state statute.
And that's for
many things, not just
Yeah.
this.
any individual, not excluding
Right,
elected positions.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 hours or more under state law, you are eligible for full-time benefits.
All right, so,
Think how
Those are the
impossible
only-
it would be to fill a lot of these positions.
Right.
If that wasn't the case.
I think that's all you had, right? You just had those
Yeah.
2 changes?
Yep, that's it. Okay.
Okay, but we've decided we're not changing these.
Well, is there a motion that we're not, take a motion on the first one?
I move to retain the current language in each.
Motion been made, there's a second.
Just if we could
discussion.
there's a second, And then under 15.5 for the bereavement, I think that the change of sentence is okay on the very top, where Paul had it lined out from
Every full-time
full-time.
employee, that
Right.
would be the
I
only
think-
change in that.
Yes.
So that would be the only change.
All right. You're good with that?
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right, center school.
Update, yeah, I actually met with our consultants yesterday.
Do that too.
Thank you.
Yep. And they took another tour of the building. Because of the nature of the abatement, there is asbestos in the caulking around some of the doors, some of the old windows. So during the abatement process, those windows and doors would have to be removed, which means that the building was potentially accessible. I'm concerned about kids getting in there. The other issue is they have found what they refer to as Slater's cement on the slate tiles on the roof, which also contain asbestos. We don't know the extent of that yet. If it's just tile to tile, then all the slate's gonna have to come off. If it's tile to wood, then the whole roof's gonna have to come off before the building comes down. Based on all that information, their recommendation to me, because we had discussed doing this as two separate contracts, one for the hazardous materials removal and one for the demolition, they think we should do it as one contract at one general contractor and do it all at once, and I concur with that. So they have to do some more, they're gonna need to get a lift to get
I
up
gave
there.
them, they were supposed to talk to Phil. I told them to get in touch with Matt Wilcox. He's got a big lift to
Okay,
get up
yeah,
there.
I talked to Phil about it today, and
Because they were
Phil
looking for
was gonna
something that
call
was,
Matt.
they
Yeah, I
were
don't know
looking
if
for
he
something
did.
that was large enough with big
Yeah.
wheels so they could go through the snow and get up there and see that. I told him in I have 30, 40 years of experience with slate roofs and I never ran across that. And he said
Yeah.
there's only one other job over at Smith College that they ran into that
They
problem.
had to do the same thing, they had to rip the whole roof off.
Only they cut the roof and let it fall down on the inside of the attic and then took it
Oh,
up that way.
okay, well,
Yeah.
you're just knocking it down
Yeah,
anyways.
so it was easier that way.
So they're gonna get back to me with, amended proposal for their work, but.
So what's the
what-
schedule,
The
potential?
schedule is, we should be able to, they've gotta do the additional investigative work. So we probably get the bid package out, in March. And the building comes down in April, that's the plan.
All right, if not sooner.
Okay.
If not sooner. Yeah, well, I'm trying to put this on a fast track.
All right. Telecom consultant.
Yeah, just, one thing, I think we've been talking about this, but now we're starting to get into the budget season. I've talked to Mike about this and Jenny, and I think I talked to Brian about it too. And I think, one of the confusing factors is we have 5 different accounts for telephone service. And I think it would be a lot simpler to do like what we did with the IT budget. We had everybody paying, out of their individual budgets for IT services, and we created a line item and, under my control, where, all the IT stuff's gotta go through me, there's one account. I think we should do that with the telephone service as well, though it would need to be broken down into 2 accounts, one for the school and one for everybody else. So I'm proposing that we do that. And we can talk about that some more, with the finance committee.
Well, I'd like to just state that once you start breaking it, having it into only 2, all right, then the town hall account, so to speak, and what's happening right now is it doesn't get to the departments, and it just goes through rubber stamped and it's paid, okay? Because Wilma told me the other day that, about 2 weeks ago, she said that with some of the bills that are supposed to go to like the fire department, stuff like that, she just puts them in to be paid. They don't have a chance to go and look at the bills themselves to see how many bills, how many calls were being reported, how many calls went out to here, where they went, how much they're being charged.
Yeah.
They don't see that.
I mean, I don't.
And all of a sudden, if something out there, somebody gets into some kind of call to overseas or whatever, and it runs up a $30, $40, $50 bill, nobody sees it, and we end up paying it.
I don't see this precluding that. I mean, I think the department's head should still review their
Absolutely.
bills, and then, but ultimately, they would come to the town administrator or whoever you decide to, put in charge of it to do the ultimate sign-off.
Even if it's after the fact, Ed, I think it would be, if we decide to go that way, they should still definitely review their.
Is this the company you
Review
have?
their account, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. That's just a, idea.
And also, will this include cell phones?
They didn't,
We had that discussion.
yeah.
Scope, what is the
They
scope?
weren't specific
It's not
about-
cell phones.
It's not cell phone.
It can be cell phones.
It should be.
Yeah,
mean,
we have a
absolutely.
lot of
We
cell
will need to
phones
look
out
at
there.
that. Yeah, we will need to look at that, I think, because I don't even know what.
And the other thing I brought up,
Really getting out of hand, okay, on how much,
the other thing I raised is scope in terms of, is this including the schools or not? Because the schools, in their capital budgeting requests for this year, are planning to change out the phone system in both the elementary school and the high school.
It does include the school.
So
Every site, review each location, current invoices where service is desired.
but they're already on a track, apparently.
They haven't done anything yet, this company, if that's who you're referring to.
No, I'm talking about the schools have
Right.
already decided on a path that they're pressing on with.
The schools know that this is happening.
Yeah, not really, we're not really on a path.
Correct.
No, there's not definite. I mean, we want to do.
Okay, so I guess my question is, this could drive what the school does, as
Absolutely.
opposed to,
Absolutely.
we're wasting our time because the schools
are
already gone.
aware of this potential
Okay,
scope of work, investigate,
so it
whatever you
fully
want to call it.
includes
Yes.
all
so
the school?
this company will be looking at all the bills, all
Right.
the
And-
stuff, and see what
and-
we can save, and
Yep.
see what recommendations are gonna get.
And they may be able to do a change order request or something along those lines, if in
Yeah.
fact they can even do cell phones. Cell phones can sometimes be a different animal from,
But
from
it really,
everything
they
else.
really should be looked at.
I agree.
I don't disagree, Jeff, but it might not be a company, it might not be the same company that can do both.
Well,
Whether it's
let's
these
find
guys or
out if they
somebody
can.
else,
If they
but-
can, that's great. If they can't, we'll have to find somebody else that'll do the job.
I know.
I guess, if you don't, excuse me, so what are you looking about the cell phone? I mean, we know what we want to know here because we've run into
You're
problems.
you're looking at how much we're spending, who's spending it, where the calls are going. You're looking at who has the cell phones. You're looking at, is there any program that incorporates all cell phones, okay, where we can get it at a cheaper rate? Right now, we're paying for each cell phone.
Sure,
on
I
its
think,
own.
I think you hit the nail on the head with your very last one, which is there a group rate, basically?
Yes.
That
Everything
would be a
else,
key thing.
this company, any company shouldn't have to do that. People should know what phone number is associated with what employee, and you just look at the bottom line.
Do a cost analysis and
Well, you
stuff
just,
like that.
the monthly bill's $80
But-
or $500 or whatever, why, and, you know.
But my point being is somebody needs to be checking this, and nobody's checking it. Nobody checks it.
Yeah. I just
Okay?
wanna say,
I mean, we
went through a similar process in the last town I worked. I think these guys were from Northampton. Did a similar thing, they went through the whole thing, found out that we were paying for defunct lines that weren't being used anymore.
Yeah.
There were a number of them.
Happens all the time in cities
Happens all
and
the
towns.
time, yeah. I think it's good to go through this process, every once in a while. And we were using a particular phone company, for the service. we found out that there was another company that was on the state contract, so we could just jump on it. Saved us a lot of money.
Good.
All right. Okay, HCTV.
We had a meeting last week, myself and John Novak, the school superintendent, Mark Gillette, the architect, Ken Longstreet, the band director, on future location of the HCTV studio. And Mr. Robert mentioned that, well, we really don't, he said, well, maybe, we could use part of the current band room as the new studio, because there's no current plans for it. So we toured the studio area, and it came up with kind of a schematic plan. So my opinion is that it'd be take about maybe a third to a half of that space, create a studio. I think it's a better spot for it because it's adjacent to the gym and the cafeteria where the town meetings occur. I think, John Novak, made a fairly compelling argument why the facility should remain in the school, and it's mostly got to do with town meetings. So the superintendent was going to present that concept to the school committee. I think, are you guys meeting this week?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. Yeah. So he's going to bring it up then. So,
So it looks like
I think John and
a
I
potential win for both sides there.
I think it's a big win for both sides, definitely, in my opinion. Where the studio is now is a much better area for the band. It's a big band now, and they're loud. I've been over there a number of times. The current band space is definitely too small. It's already crowded. They're projecting expansion. So having them down the end of the hallway there, and I guess that used to be a voc-ed area, so there's some insulation, there's like closets on one side of it, which kind of isolates it from the rest of the building, so.
The room that John is in, the band cannot fit in that one room.
Oh, it's got to,
There's like a back
they're going
room
to tear
that goes
down a
through.
wall, they're going to tear down a couple walls. Yeah,
So it's going to go into the old shop.
into the old shop.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So anyways, that's where we're at with that.
Okay. Got to bring up this water abatement for 906 North King Street.
I thought we voted that last time, no?
No, we were waiting.
We were waiting for the paperwork.
Backup? Okay.
And Phil brought us the paperwork today, showed us what the guy's amount was originally. This is what his
I know,
amount
I
was
read it.
originally.
Yeah,
So
that's
they're
it.
looking
That's
for an
it, the same
abatement.
one?
I move to
Oh, okay.
approve the abatement in the amount of $886.20 on the sewer bill for the residents at 906 North King Street, Northampton.
Yeah.
Motion been made, is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? I just want to add that, just so people at home are wondering why, the normal bill was $79.80. For some reason, there was an error when the Northampton read the meter versus the town of Hatfield, and there was a discrepancy, so that's why the abatement is $886. The normal bill is somewhere around $79, $80, something like that. Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
It's an original copy, I already signed it.
Okay, we already
Same
signed
one.
that. Okay. Move right over to Paul. Just just one more thing on the building behind us on the emergency complex. I'd like to get going on, make sure that that stuff is taken care of. There's a section of fence that's got to be put up to protect the, going through there and protect the lines to the air conditioning units. There's also phone lines that got to get in that building that we told them to get in. I'm not sure where Phil's at with that. There's TV for weather over there that needs to get in there. And what the heck else?
What's TV for weather? I'm sorry. What?
Well, when in the center, there's only the one TV up front.
Yeah.
And if you're working off of two TVs, one would have the weather, the other one would have the news in the command center. So you're seeing exactly what's going on at the same time. Some have three. This one only has one, and I'm telling them right along they should put the two in so you can see what's going on, in two different channels and stuff like that.
So fire department's got this in their budget?
Pardon?
They
No,
have it?
this was hooking up for the with the final whatever's left in there. There's like $20,000, something like that, left in that budget. So that should all come. This stuff should, the phone lines, the fence, the TV is probably about $400, something like that. And but that should be taken care of and get it done, get it up and operational. Make sure that we're up and running here.
Who is responsible for pushing that? I mean, it
Well-
sounds like part of it would be the fire department themselves as far as.
I told Bill to he's working on the TV, they were working on that. As far as the fence and the phone lines, I thought Phil was doing that, but I didn't ask him, so if you talk to Phil tomorrow, maybe get some kind of an answer.
Are the phone lines the wires that are curled up? Is that what you're referring to, or is there
Well,
something
right
else going on
now,
there?
we're under Comcast.
Yeah.
And then we had the problem with Comcast.
Oh, you're talking about some backup.
So now we got a backup
So
phone line.
I would suggest, if we can, to let this company that's going to come in and make recommendations and do the review see, because they're experienced in doing this with other cities
Sure.
and towns, what a recommendation might be. And I'm sure that's what it's going to be. It's only safer to have two different companies for backup, but.
Just as long as we get it done.
Yeah,
And then the other question that I have is, Paul, how do we make out with the Comcast as far as with sending them all the information, and did they find anything that was wrong? What did they find wrong?
No, they didn't find anything. I mean, the issue there was just,
Well, they have to find something wrong, because if we got a credit on Tony's and we got a deficit on the fire department, there's definitely something wrong here.
I think that's all internal. And that's what I'm hoping these guys are gonna be able to straighten out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Brian?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The ice
no
skating rink
business?
looks good.
I've just got one, you guys need to sign change order number 1 for the water line. Phase 1
I did have one other thing, if we're going to go on.
There's 4 copies.
I'm proposing that we designate the town administrator,
For you.
give him authority to post meetings. Remember, we did this with Jeff Ritter some months ago,
But I think we have to do that jointly with.
jointly with the town clerk.
Yeah.
But we have to agree
Well,
to propose to do this.
put that in the form of motion?
Yes, I move that the Board of Selectmen propose to the town clerk that the town administrator be authorized
to post.
to post
Okay.
meetings.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second. And
Further discussion?
yeah, so this motion and in the proposal is to simply have the conversation at this point, is that
It
correct?
has to be jointly concurred on.
Understood, but
Yeah.
your motion was to enter into the conversation with
Right.
the town clerk.
Yeah.
Right, but
Okay.
we're only going to enter it if
And
there's
then move
interest.
forward,
Yeah,
right.
to move
If
forward.
she's agreeable to it, then we move forward with it.
We had this set up with,
My concern is who is ultimately going to be responsible and who will people go to post meetings?
If Lydia's not there, then they'd go to
Lydia's
Paul.
not here on Friday, Lydia's not here on Wednesday.
Nor is the town administrator here on a Friday.
And
So there's
Lydia's
no
not here
advantage.
on Wednesday.
I-
So she's only here 3 days a week.
and I understand that, Joe.
Partial days.
I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
partial
that
days.
we're
Sure.
you know, not overstepping or stepping on someone else's
No.
toes
Well, that's why
for
we're going
doing
to her.
something.
We're going to-
So again,
She
I,
has to agree.
right. But okay.
She has
So
to agree.
we'll see what it's all about. That's fine. I'm good with my discussion.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
It's too early.
Favor?
Second.
Thank you very much.
Not
Have a
too
good evening.
bad. Hey, Ed.